Good morning. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Marilyn Orr, President of the club, and we are thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV, as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel and Facebook. Our club meets weekly using this digital platform, Zoom. When we meet in person, it's at Laurel Lake Retirement Community for breakfast. We hope to get back to that soon. We meet most Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30 a.m. So come out to join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we are having on our local community and the world, please visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. So enjoy this meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary opens doors of opportunity.
Off.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Ron Strobel. I'm the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Phil Tobin.
Thank you, Ron. Heavenly Father, make us each here an instrument of your grace. Bring us together as Rotary community of caring individuals. Bless us in our differences and our strengths, and our courage to stand together as an instrument of our motivation to serve others. Call on us to gather in your love. Lead us to know and glorify you on each step along this journey of our lives. In your name we ask it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Phil. And now please join me in the pledge and the four-way test. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And now our president, Marilyn Orr.
Well, good morning, Rotarians. It's wonderful to see everyone again this morning, and I'd like to introduce a special guest. Brent Watts is sitting in on our meeting this morning from near Houston. Brent belongs to the Brazos River Valley Rotary Club, and he is a new employee of a business here in Hudson, and I'm not sure if he'll be relocating up this way, but it's good to see you this morning, Brett. He reached out to us through our Facebook page, so that's an interesting thing to note, that our social media does indeed work. So good morning, Brett. It's good to have you join us this morning. I also I'm starting to hear that local Rotarians are receiving their COVID vaccines. My goodness, it seems like that's all we want to talk about. But you know, it starts with just one person at a time. And Ohio is now reported to be approximately 5% vaccinated. And that leaves a lot of work yet to be done. That bodes well for us in our planning to return to face-to-face meetings. And I know that we have missed those breakfast meetings. Okay, just a moment. I had a little note coming in from Bill Libby. Let me just double check here what we got going on. Bill was planning to introduce our speaker this morning. I need to make sure that he's got everything that he needs. Bill, are you good to go? Bill, can you unmute yourself, please? Let's see, did we lose Bill? It looks like maybe we did.
Yeah, I'm not showing him on the.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead then and get us started. Okay. Devyani Gursahaney has worked for over 25 years as an educator, a consultant, and workshop facilitator in the areas of diversity, cultural competency, interreligious understanding, and engagement and interfaith peace building to inspire practices that promote respect, human dignity, and compassionate engagement in service of a world that works for everyone. With one master's degree in social work and another in organizational development, Devi incorporates a multidisciplinary and creative approach with an Eastern flair. Her transnational experiences guide her to the understanding of the global challenges and opportunities that schools and communities face today. In January of 2020, just a year ago, Devi became the executive director of Red Flags National, a not for profit organization for mental health education and training. She strongly believes in and promotes raising awareness of youth suicide and its impact as a public health issue. Devi challenges the entire secondary school system to commit to helping address mental health crises in children. Now more than ever, schools and communities must come together to promote recovery, resilience, and hope by providing behavioral health and support services that enhance the quality of life. So we're in for a really good session this morning. And Devi, I'm going to let you take it away. Can you please unmute yourself? Here we go.
How that came up. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
I can. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning. I am going to ask all of you, let's just take a few seconds to ground ourselves. So, because I think the group was all as it is really very energetic this morning. So we need to calm ourselves a little bit. So if it is possible, I invite you to close your eyes and sit comfortably in your chair with both the feet grounded on the floor. And take a long, deep breath. The breath that goes all the way from your tail of your spine to the neck, nourishing your body with a fresh oxygen. And then exhale out everything that went on, all the stresses and the running around in the morning trying to get the coffee ready or sending the emails, and just for next 20-30 minutes, make a commitment to bring yourself in this moment, right here, right now. Just pay attention to your breath going in through your nostrils. The cold air is going in and filling up your stomach, your lungs, your chest. And then as you exhale out, the warm air comes out of your nostril, and along with that takes all the stress out of your body. Many times, we have intentional to be present, but somehow our mind is not there and our mind is somewhere else. So this is a good way when we try to go back to our breath and focus on it. It makes it much easier to come to this place at this present time. So while you are just paying attention to your breath, I greet you with my Indian greeting, which is called Namaste. That means I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. When you are in that place in you and I am in that place in me, we are one. This simple Indian greeting allows two individuals to come together energetically to a place of connection and respect, free from the bonds of ego connections. So make a quick intention, in your mind that after hearing today's conversation, you will at least take one small goal and try to put into practice, because the topic we will be discussing is so very urgent and so important. So I will be going through certain topics. Some I will be going quickly, but mainly I want to introduce the status of mental health in United States, and mental health along with COVID-19 that we have been facing for the last almost 1 year. And then I will briefly talk to you about what is Red Flags National and how it helps the schools. So sadly speaking, 450 million people worldwide have a mental health problems. Mental illness can affect anyone. It has no boundary, regardless of age, gender, geography, income, social status, race, ethnicity, religion, spirituality, sexual orientation, and cultural identity. 5 to 10% of people suffer from depression at any given time. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide and perhaps the single biggest medical burden on the healthcare. 90% of the those who die by suicide in Western countries alone. Suicide rate has actually fallen globally, but unfortunately they have climbed every year in the United States since 1999, increasing 35% in the past 2 decades. Since COVID arrived, depression and anxiety in America have become very rampant, and 40% of Americans are grappling with at least one mental health or drug-related issues. Sadly, our young adults have been hit most harder than any other age, and 75% of them are struggling currently. Even more alarming is that when CDC asked these young kids if they had thought about killing themselves in the past 30 days, 1 in 4 said they had. Across the nation, people are dealing with feelings of uncertainty and anxiety, loss and grief. I'm sure we all have experienced it to some degree. Those who have experienced mental health challenges prior to COVID will most likely struggle the most. Increased feeling of loneliness, despair, and addiction, which is so ironic that in a world that is more interconnected and prosperous than ever. We all are so connected with electronic gizmos constantly that isn't that ironic that we still feel lonely and despair? Schools today are often faced with educating an increasing number of students with emotional needs. So this has had a tremendous impact on the schools. And we are putting more and more responsibility on our schools. They not only have to educate our kids, they have to feed our kids, and they have to meet the mental health and safety needs of our children too. Society is becoming more dependent on schools to provide these needs. Most mental disorders, and also most of the mental disorders start to appear from the age 14 to 25, and sometimes even much younger. Regardless of demographics, 1 in 5 kids will experience some form of mental illness. So that tells us how challenging the task is in front of us. Youth mental health is worsening. Some of you might have read the report from New York Times on Sunday, where in Las Vegas, the superintendent had to bring the school back to classroom, the students, because there were 18 suicides since the COVID began. 76% increase in the suicide in youth since 2007 to 2017. 52% increase in the depressive episodes among the kids from 2005 to 2017. An increased use of psychotropic medication also is tremendous. If you look at all the statistics and all the resources we feel we have in this country, only 1% of the students are identified with emotional disturbance, despite millions of them with depression and with severe impairment. And only over 70% of the students with a mental health disorders do not receive any adequate treatment. Depression is often considered an invisible illness. Depression and suicide ideation in middle school children often goes undetected. This rings especially true for adolescents, where symptoms may appear to be a part of ever-changing moods and behaviors. We often take it lightly. Oh, this is just the phase. He will get over it. We often hear parents say that. Early identification of, however, depression is very critical, according to the author Auger in 2004. Vail also highlights that the link between mental health and academic success really depends on how well children do in the school. And unfortunately, children who are suffering from any kind of mental illnesses or depression are not able to do as well in the classrooms. If you look at the brain of our brain, the two main components I want to talk to you about is the amygdala, which is on the right side, way below near the cheeks, and the prefrontal cortex, the green area. This green area, even though kids may look physically, especially in the middle school and high school, kids may look all grown up. Physically, their body is developed, but their prefrontal cortex is not very well developed yet. And as a result, and that is the area that focuses on our decision making, judgments, things like that. But then amygdala, it is the flight and fight response that comes into action, and it takes an important role and starts telling, oh, come on, you can do it. Oh, don't worry what your dad and mom say. It's just one time. This is such a awesome thing to do. And so the kids sometimes don't know that their impulsive actions and what kind of consequences it has. And including, if you look at most of the male students they die by suicide, usually with a gun or some kind of weapon. And they don't realize that once you trigger that gun, there is no comeback. Also, our nation has been going through many mass shootings in the last so many years. We were also shocked when it first time happened almost 13 years ago in Columbine. Since then, it has just continuously increased, and over 235 school shootings have taken place so far. But it almost looks like we have all become immune to it. We pay attention for first few days, the news is covering constantly, and then everything just dies down. Substance abuse also has increased tremendously. And these children, particularly middle school children, suffer from stress and anxiety because of social media's impact, bullying on the social media, and they are also trying to find their sexual identity. And 12% of the kids from the middle school will be going through this challenge of sexual identity. There is also tremendous devastating effect of poverty right now on these children, and particularly since COVID began, and scarcity of all the available care for them, health care, mental health care, proper nourishing foods, doctors, like that. And of course, mental health also is due to certain biological factors, genes, as well as your brain chemistry. We have to bring this mental health conversation more in the sunlight. We cannot keep anymore this secrecy or be afraid of it or feel ashamed. Because if you had fever or you have diabetes or you broke your leg, you are going to go to the doctor for physical treatment. Mental health is no different. Mental and physical health are part of our body. They are both so simultaneously connected. One affects another. If I am not feeling good, it is going to manifest in my body with something severe headaches, back pain. Back pain is one of the biggest complaint people go to the doctor with, and that is half the times it's psychological. So depression is so difficult, for people to themselves deal with, and also to help you understand what really is depression. Unless you have gone through it, it's very, very hard. We all go through depression to some extent, like, the some winter blues we have, or because of COVID, we could not travel and many people felt little discouraged. But depression is much, much deeper than that. And I was listening to TED Talk by Kevin Brill, and it is so sadly described. What you fear most is not the suffering inside of you. It is the stigma inside of others. It is the shame, the embarrassment, the disapproving look of a friend's face, the whispers in the hall that you are weak, the comments that you are crazy. So you hide it because the stigma around depression is so real. And we all know that unfortunately, a couple months ago, one of the very well-known families in Hudson suffered a tragic, biggest tragedy, family dying of suicide and homicide. When that news came, my first question was, is this tragedy really just for that family? Or is this tragedy for all of us? It is for all of us. How is it that no one from all people all over the world, we are so many people around here, and nobody could help that individual? What's going on in our society? And that's why we have to have this mental health conversation more open in public. Let's talk about it. Let's, even us on a daily basis, we should go deep inside and ask, how's my mood today? What am I feeling? Do I have any kind of stress that I need to address it? How's my emotions today? Do I feel happy today? Do I feel discouraged? We have to develop that self-awareness of our own emotions and psychological impact that is taking on our body. Unfortunately, even at the national level, our conversation is very inherently very reactive. And we often, use the crisis response of putting a band-aid, to resolve the situation. Crisis management is, of course, important, but understanding the devastating impact untreated medical illness has is what we need to pay attention to. There is no systemic approach to helping students with their mental health needs in the schools. The research is very clear that when a school has system-based, evidence-based, whole school approach, all students are more engaged academically and do well. So how do we tackle this current mental health crisis? Red flags, it is not really a program, but it's a school-based mental health process that promotes sound mental health habits through mental health literacy and mental health promotion. So it is not just again for schools, but each of us have to take that responsibility to educate ourselves, to be aware of, what is mental health? How do we get good mental? How do we develop? What are the skills? What are the tools can we use to have a good mental health. Early response to developing mental health concerns through recognizing the symptoms or the warning signs in these young children. And we have to have a clear, well-publicized process for accessing this help and also to facilitate the recovery. The longer we wait, unfortunately, the symptoms get stronger and it creates more tragedies as the years go by. So we have to promote, Red Flag's main goals are to promote positive mental health, development of sound mental health habits, change the way public regard and respond to mental illness, and elimination of stigma, early intervention, accommodation, and recovery, from crisis-driven to health-driven. As a result, schools will experience, and many schools have done it. One of the schools in New York, in one of the big school district schools in London, they have made mental health one of their biggest goal, and they have seen remarkable success with children. So why choose Red Flags? For quite a few reasons. One is it builds on a solid scientific research. It develops learning and teaching skills. It facilitates early intervention when problem arises. Now, I want to tell you, that there are a lot of programs you might have heard about as far as the prevention, of suicide is concerned. SOS, is one of them. Then first mental health first aid, which is throughout America, and almost 10 or 15,000 people have been trained to give that program. And they all have something good to teach us. However, most of the program focuses on how do we prevent suicide. My argument is, why not start from the young age to teach these children good mental health habits so that they know, we give them vocabulary so they know how to express what they are going through inside. They have words to express. They know who they can go to. These children need one trusted person in their life. And the research again shows that when a child has one trusted person they can go anytime they have challenges, they feel so much secured, and there is less chance of that making them wrong, for them to make wrong choices. We have to engage the entire community. In the schools, it's not just students, and a teacher that has to think of mental health. It has to come from top down. Most of you have, I'm sure, had business experiences. No changes takes place or occurs in organizations or even corporations without the 100% commitment and support from the top administration. The top administration has to decide what is the most important priority, and they have to be willing to provide resources necessary to have this program. So the school mental Red Flags program encourages that entire school is involved, in teachers, staff, students, parents, because as we know, it takes an entire village to raise a child. And Red Flags, the most important aspect is that it's very, very cost effective. Right now, Red Flag is used throughout Ohio State in many, many schools, districts, at least a couple of hundred school districts uses our program. And we have not gone out of state to train the schools on Red Flags. However, 16, 17 states do use our educational material. So Red Flags has 4 pillars. One is informed, engaged parents and caregivers. Parents also have to understand. A lot of times parents do not know what their children are going through, because parents have their own challenges, their own stresses, their own demands and commitments. So parents have to be engaged. The school, entire school has to be engaged, including the janitors, cafeteria staff, as well as the bus drivers, because you never know whom the child is going to confide, or who watches child's behavior when he or she is alone sitting somewhere. And we have to engage the students, and we have to have a well publicized protocol for accessing help. Suppose a child shows a severe disturbance and is threatening the teacher that he or she is going to has made arrangement and is going to die by suicide. What is that teacher going to do? Where can she go? What if the superintendent is not in the building? How's the decision made? And so if it is well publicized protocol and entire school is aware of it, then it has a much better outcome. So red flags, changes the framework completely. It is proactive rather than reactive. It begins with positive mental health habits. It fosters general awareness of warning signs of mental illness. It's care for self and others. Care for self, that's another most important aspect of our recovery. Provides a process and language for accessing help. It is holistic because it engages the entire school, and it puts responsibility on everyone. We just cannot one person take the responsibility and expect all the students will be okay. Students themselves have to take the responsibility on their shoulder. According to 2014 Center for Health and Healthcare in Schools, students who receive positive behavioral health intervention see improvements on a range of behaviors related to academic achievement, beyond letter grades and test scores. So how does good mental health happen? It happens by mental health literacy, mental health promotion, and early intervention. Good mental health does not just occur. One may stumble upon it by trial and error, or it can be taught. And that's where each one of us, have to take the responsibility. So look at the chart of mental health self-care. We often feel that it is my job to take care of others. We as a parent, especially father or mother, we think my job is to take care of my children or my parents or somebody else who needs my help. But we cannot provide any help to anybody unless we learn to take care of ourselves. Mental health is, it's a balance between the demands and how you feel, what your energy is, how you are coping with your daily challenges. Is it getting overwhelming? Do you get frustrated and you are taking out your frustration and anger on somebody else? Are you doing it at the cost of your proper eating habits, or are you doing exercise? Do you sleep enough? We all need 7 to 8 hours of sleep minimum, and particularly these young children, when they have a better sleep, their brain develops much healthier. And we also have to enjoy the social connection and intimate connection with our family as well as with our close friends. So it is not just, we often think good health means, oh, how many calories am I burning and how much weight loss I have had. That is not good, physical health. Health is, it's a combination of mental as well as physical. Many people are afraid to be alone. We each have to take time every day for self-reflection. You can sit down and write, journal. In a journal, you can be creative. You can join a support group. You can do painting, singing, music, explore a hobby, community engagement, whatever we like to do. But these are all the things for a good mental health. Practice of forgiveness is very important, because when we forgive others who have harmed us in any way or who have hurt us, we are doing it for ourselves, not for them. We also have to develop an attitude of gratitude, and especially right now. Most of us who are able to stay home, work from home, and have been fortunate to not be infected by COVID, we have so many things to be grateful for. And that's what, that when you teach the children the attitude of gratitude, they also realize that there is more to life than just one's own self. We have to spend time with these children. Parents are saying my children spend too much time on phone. Then we sit down to eat meals with them and parents are themselves on the phone. We have to set a good example for these kids that during dinner time there will be no phone calls, no checking on emails or texting or anything. Some homes, even at night, everyone has to lock their phones in one room, including parents. Because one of the biggest complaints these teachers say is these kids do not get enough sleep because they go to bed with the phone and they are texting throughout night. And you don't know what all they are seeing on the internet. There is so much competition on all the photographs they see, all the texting. There is so much bullying, and it has a lot of negative implications. So we have to every day ask ourselves, how am I today emotionally? How am I feeling? Am I happy, sad, or angry? If I'm not, let me pay attention for how long this worry has been bothering me. What can I do about it? Can I talk to a friend? Can I talk to my pastor? And just get it out of myself. Psychological well-being is equally important. How's my mind today? Has my behavior or has the behavior of a child changed? If your child was somebody who loved soccer game and all of a sudden does not want to talk about it, does not want to go and practice, does not want to call his friends, there is a signal there that something is wrong. And social happiness is so important. We are all social animals. And because of the COVID, unfortunately, we have to keep the distance and separation. So it has impacted all of us, but we can still find ways to connect with people. And in that respect, the technology allows us to meet and see our family via Zoom. We can, do video chats with the loved ones, especially elderly, loved ones, so that we don't feel alone. So we have to find this stress bucket, I call it, that whenever you feel stressed, there should be a bucket where you can pour out all your stresses of the day. And that way you can go to sleep, peacefully. And I'm not trying to undermine some of the stresses. We all have many challenges we go through in life, but just keeping inside and keep on just mulling over it does not help us in any way. So how do we increase the mental health awareness campaign? Each of us has the power to break the stigma, the most important thing. Stigma, that really, and we have to change how our language, how we talk about mental health, and the words we use for these people who suffer from mental illnesses. It is not their fault, nor it is their parents' fault. There is nothing to be ashamed of. It is just the chemical imbalance in their brain, or genetically they might have had some problem. So we have to remove this stigma, learn the proper words. Do not describe them as nerdy, psycho, retard, those kind of words. That is very hurtful and painful. And don't isolate them, you know, include them in everything in your life. We have to challenge the negativity. And we have to say to ourselves as well as to our children, your mental health matters. And it is okay to reach out for help. We don't have to be ashamed of it. And don't judge people, based on how they are acting or what they are going through. And sometimes it is simply okay not to be okay. So it is not simply a good thing, mental health, but a very important at every stage in our life. So respect it and protect it, just like you will protect your health and your life. I really want to leave this today. I leave you with my personal thought that ever since the incident that took place in Hudson with one of our dear family members in the community, I have taken this thing very seriously and I have made a commitment that we have to do something. We have to stop our children killing themselves. We have to stop our loved ones killing themselves. Over 44,000 people die every year in the United States. That is every 12 minutes, one person dies. Let's stop that. Let's pay attention to each other. What do we need? What can we give to one another? And how we can help, reach out and help everybody. Thank you so very much, and I will open it now for question answers.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. I want to thank you for your presentation today. It's obviously something that's very important. I'm a parent of 2 teenage daughters, so I'm obviously very mindful of them and what they go through. And so I appreciate that you have shed a light on this very difficult and heartbreaking topic that we all have to deal with. Is there any way we can get maybe a copy of that presentation? I'd like to review it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
Should I send it to Mrs. Orr so she can send it to everybody? I don't have your email addresses, so. Would that be okay, Mrs. Orr?
It surely would. That would work very, very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Also, just a note, we're recording, so this will be on Hudson Community Television and also on YouTube. So along with the presentation, if you want to re-listen to the actual presentation, that will be available as well.
David, I want to apologize for not coming on this morning and introducing you. We've been good.
That's okay.
Marie and I have been good friends with you for many years. This computer system just would not allow me to mitigate whatever is happening here. But anyway, I got on it. So I just want to thank you for doing this. Our long friendship over the last 10 years has been very nice for both of us. And I think coming from different cultural backgrounds, you've enriched my life being a Hindu along with Ramesh. And that's something. Number 2, I and my family have had 2 health issues with relatives that are very severe, mental health issues. And going through that within your own family is very stressful, emotionally down, and trying to cope all the time with it. I have a sister who currently is not wanting to take her meds. And that's just a hardened thing to do within the family. But I keep touch with her all the time. She's here in Ohio, so I can interact with her. But I just want to share that with you, that your message is very loud and clear in my head and Marie's.
Thank you so much. And carrying a role is the most difficult role. And that is when again mental health becomes important, even people who are providing care, because that takes a toll on our own mental health and physical health, and stress goes high, And so developing these simple mental health skills, meditation, yoga, going out in the woods, walking in the fresh air, doing an art project, exercise, dancing, even music. Music is supposed to be one of the most soothing experience. Just listen to any music you like and sit. But we all need to cultivate this habit of quiet time for ourselves. Sometimes we are so running from one activity to another, and we need to learn to be, we are human beings, not human doings. And we have to learn to become, to slow down and to just nourish our own soul and self, read a nice scripture, read a nice poem, read any nice book. Because in this day and age, we have become so materialistic, and our focus has become so much like a consumer mind, that we constantly are focusing on what can I acquire. Oh, my neighbor has a tennis court, I need to put a swimming pool. Oh, he has a Beamer, I need to buy some, Tesla. We are constantly, at that stage. And even our children, and especially when Mr. Keith, shared about his two daughters, the young girls at that age are so vulnerable to the society's pressure, because we are always judging people on how they look, what they are wearing, but we never try to see beyond that surface. It's like, opening an onion and peeling the onion and trying to find what's inside. And what happens is these young children, because they have so much access to this technology, they are constantly looking these beautiful pictures. I can put a picture right now for all of you as if I traveled to Switzerland last night and came back and you didn't know. And some people will believe that, So not everything you see online is, right or true. But these girls, start feeling inside, oh my God, look, I have nothing. I don't have good clothes. I don't look good. And so that comparison and competition starts. And so more and more girls, they are hurting, but they are cutting themselves a lot. So they feel that by physically hurting themselves and the pain that they go through, they can overcome their mental anguish and challenges. So as a parent, I would encourage you to really keep an eye on their body, that they are not cutting themselves, anyway. And boys, we are a country where we believe in freedom to have gun. Most of the suicide takes place by the guns that the family or the loved ones or somebody owns. But these kids also have an access to buy the guns nowadays so easily. So if you have guns and if you have teenagers, remove that as much as possible and tell that to your children and grandchildren, because all these weapons are not helping us. But the most important thing, some of you are grandparents, and that's the most beautiful relationship we can develop, trying to take the grandchild under our wings and supporting them, loving them, accepting, just asking them questions. Share with me, how are you feeling today? How was it? What would you do differently? If they are complaining about COVID, tell them, okay, let's talk about it. I know COVID is very hard. What other alternatives do you think we should have? Let's see what has not happened to us, that it has happened to some other people. Let's talk about, gratitude. Why are we so thankful? We have to teach these skills to our children. And once you see something, immediately get help. If the children will get help, and their illnesses will be detected, as early as possible, there will be much better chance of them recovering. But if it continues after age 20 and 24, then there is chance of them not completing the schools, getting hooked on drugs and alcohol, extreme sexual behaviors, or many other habits.
Yeah.
Hey,
Debbie,
Debbie, go ahead.
one of the things that I was wondering is if there are indicators that people should be looking for in terms of behavior with kids of all ages. For example, most of my career, I was dealing with the 18 to 30-year-olds at the university. And I could stop and figure it out, but I can't tell you how many kids that I was an advisor to had to be referred for mental health assessment and then treatment. And the only reason the university wasn't training us, and I just happened to have been trained initially as a social worker, so I had some feel for it. But the number of young men between the ages of probably 18 and 25 who developed bipolar disease, which is about the time the amygdala and the frontal cortex is supposed to start coming together, but they'd be either manic or depressive, depending on where they were in the cycle. And the temptation is when they're feeling good, they don't need the meds, they're better. So they stop taking them. And by the time they start, they've run amok, they can't make a decision to take. So as a result of accumulation, I finally made such a fit at the university that they came up with a protocol for the faculty to use to identify what the red flags were and how to refer them. The main thing was most of the students didn't have enough money for the assessments. And in the beginning, the university refused to pay for it, and the parents wouldn't. So so that's a huge barrier. And I'm thinking about in our school system here, do we have protocols? And if there's an issue with families' ability to pay for the medical assessment and or treatment, do we have some kind of fund or means to deal with it?
Well, funding is a big problem, no doubt about it, and that's why we have to, make this mental health as a priority and demand from our congressmen, and people who represent our communities to have some kind of resources available. We have to talk to the physicians, we have to talk to psychologists and see how we can, but it begins with awareness and acceptance that mental health is part of our life, just like physical health is. So first, our goal should be to remove the stigma that there is, and as a result, a lot of families come to me and they will say, I rather say my child is drug abuse, he's an abuser of drugs or alcohol, but that he has mental illness. Mm-hmm. So people are so ashamed of, accepting that their children have, some challenges. And, we are all going through this, sometime or the other in our life when we will have mental health problems. I did not realize that, after a woman delivers a baby, you can have post, delivery, depression. And I had a, really challenge, time. And so we have education is the most important thing. And once we have education and awareness and we start accepting this thing and recognize how important it is, then we can really find, then the answers will start coming. We will find the resources to support this. But we also all have to develop this mental health skills so that it can help us on a day-to-day basis. And if we have children in the house, we have to start practicing ourselves so that they will watch it and then they will learn those things. Let us all in the same room sit quietly. Let us listen to a story or listen to a music. Let's see, what did you think about that? How did you feel about that? Engaging our children, because we are giving them too much freedom to, be by themselves. Give them computer, give them telephone in their room. Don't bug me. But that's not what is helping our children.
Hey, Debbie,
Yes.
wanted to comment on the dilemma we have on the treatment side, particularly for children, and just get your comments, because it's great to have somebody like Mimi all the way down to the janitor or whoever's recognizing that. But the treatment part gets really dicey with children because primary care and pediatricians need times in the appointments that are well beyond what they're scheduled for to be comfortable in prescribing an antidepressant. So then they may refer it to a child psychiatrist which is severely understaffed all across the country. It's they have 20% of the of what they need to fill the need. And so you get months. Your schedule, you call now and you get it 2 months, 3 months down the road, you get an appointment in a child psychiatrist. And so while all the recognition is fabulous, then the devil's in the details when you start getting into the healthcare system and trying to find treatment, because there's still primary care physicians that are not comfortable with treating because they're not allowed to have the kind of time they need to do the assessments.
Right, right. And it is a very legitimate concern and a question you are raising. But at the same time, I really personally feel that when you start noticing certain behavior or something, do not immediately jump into relying on the pharmaceutical, medications, because we are often, really overdosing our children with these medications, because physicians not even actually be prescribing this medication, to the students if they are not able to observe it on a regular basis. And the psychiatrist, after evaluation, can only, prescribe this, medication. So medication is not the answer, but you start working with a therapist or a counselor, and parent has to work with the child, and try to win their trust, or if not parents, somebody that, their elder brother or their uncle, whoever. So, teach them different skills so that they can let out their emotions. And I know it is very time consuming. It's a very slow thing, but that's what we have to do, because the medication, many of them, then they start walking around like a zombie, or and sometimes parents will say, I just give it to him, he takes it. No, you cannot take a risk of giving a teenager, especially middle school child, the whole bottle in his hand. You never know when he or she will misuse it.
Mhm.
So these are many issues we have that we all have to come up with, but the discussion has to be open like this. We have to continuously talk about it and stress, and not discard it as something, oh, he will be fine once he gets over this terrible age, he will come to his own senses. No, we cannot do that.
I just
Mr.
about a
had some
minute left,
question?
so I'm
Oh,
going
sorry,
to
sir.
have Tom and Phil, I think, have been waiting to ask a question.
Yes,
Well,
please.
Go
I
ahead,
just,
Tom.
Dad, if I could just make one quick point. We had an excellent presentation at the school board meeting the other night, and James, you might be able to articulate on this as well. The schools are giving a lot of attention to mental health and social emotional learning. We learned a lot about what's being done at the schools and all the resources that are being dedicated to it. I need to go back and watch that presentation again. It was more than I could absorb at one time. But the school board meetings are recorded. You can go up to the site and see them, and as well as on Hudson Community TV. And I would recommend that you do. It's the presentation by Director of Pupil Services, Kelly Kempf.
Yes. And I'm also on the committee right now, on the task force, with the Superintendent's Task Force Committee for Racial Issues and Justice. And I already spoke to the school diversity coordinator about mental health, and particularly mental health in regards to the minority, families, and how we can help them. So yes, I am working with them. So
And the two do relate too. I mean,
absolutely, absolutely.
yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Phil, you had a question?
Just one quick comment. Debbie, thank you for your presentation. It meant a lot to us. There are three of us watching this presentation today, including my son, Tom, who just spoke, my wife, Joan, and myself. We're the family that experienced that loss in Hudson of an entire family. The one question I have, and it puzzles me, and I don't expect an answer on this thing, but that's that very difficult period of time, and I don't know when it is in time, where an individual thinks about suicide or committing suicide or murder or whatever it is, and when they actually take action to it. And I just I don't know what the answer is to that, because it is a definite change when just thinking about it and then taking action to go ahead with it. And that's the most puzzling thing that I find in this whole experience. But I do agree very much to intervene. When you see it, you may not be an expert, you're not necessarily trained in this thing, but when you see that coming, intervene, because the chances are you may not be able to recover from it if you don't intervene. Again, thank you so much for your presentation today.
It's my pleasure, sir. But as far as the depression is concerned, it is so debilitating where person really inside there is and especially if the depression has continued for many years, then it may turn into schizophrenia kind of illness. And when the people start listening to voices inside, and it tells them, hey, you cannot deal with this. This is absolutely hopeless, because they feel like they are going through this dark tunnel which has no end to it. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. And when they start listening to these voices, so many people really go through this for a long time. They plan it out, inside their mind, whole thing, how they are going to do it. And some still would not do it. Most of the time, these people don't, if you ask them, 90 to 95% of the people don't want to die. There was a very nice experience done on a Golden Bridge in California in San Francisco, where this young man who had planned everything, how he was going to jump off the bridge, for almost over a year, he knew he was going to do that. And then he said, but I don't want to die. Part of me doesn't want to die. Today, if just one person stops me and even says hello and looks into my eye, I will not die. So it is really a cry for help. And some people do it very quickly, and particularly our teenagers, because they are very impulsive. They have no idea or concept the consequences of their action. And their amygdala is, telling them, do it. You will be a brave person. Oh, come on, you're not coward. Go for it, like that. And that's why, they take very impulsive, actions. But my heart goes to your family, Mr. Tobin, and all the three Tobins, here. And you have, in some ways, in a sad way, and I apologize, but, you have inspired me that we have to address this issue. And all of us have to take responsibility, and all of us have to feel this pain for all those who have gone through this. So thank you, and namaste to all of you. Namaste.
This has been an excellent, excellent program. And thank you very much for your vulnerability and creating the space for us to safely talk about this topic. We're going to close at this point. I am so sorry. This has been a wonderful meeting, and we're going to close at this point. It's been a very vulnerable time, and I truly appreciate everyone and their comments and their commitment to making this a safer place for our children, for our families, and for ourselves. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you very much for participating with the Rotary Club of Hudson.
Thank you for a great one, Debbie.
There we go.